The Green Bay Packers have one job to do this week: block Myles Garrett. Easier said than done, fully healthy, and this Packers offensive line isn't.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the number one Packers podcast on the internet. And the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Myles Garrett is an incredible football player, and the only way, barring, absolute wild and craziness, that the Packers will lose to the Browns is if they let Myles Garrett wreck the game. And that means pressure that causes interceptions. That means sack fumbles, because that's the deal. The Packers are 9.5-point favorites against the Cleveland Browns. This is, by all rights, a giant mismatch. And I know that, it's been a couple years now. The Packers have to Packer fans have to reorient themselves around that idea. And I remember 2018. I remember 2019 when the Packers would be 7.5-point favorites or 10-point favorites and either lose 2018 or win by 3 2019. So I understand the hesitation here. I really do. But as we said yesterday, this Packers team is the best team in the NFL right now. And so they're going to get these big expectations. That's part of the deal. Heavy lies the head that wears the crown. So, turnovers, special team shenanigans. Luckily, the Bears special teams is a complete tire fire. This game, by all rights, ought to go the same way the Ravens did last week. Maybe, the Browns, they make it ugly and tough at first. The Ravens pulled away and end up winning that game handily. I'm not even sure about the make the game tough at first part, because the Packers defensively are frankly better than the Ravens. Now, you've got to block Myles Garrett. Zach Tom might play. Matt LaFleur said on Monday, Tom is feeling much better. You get the mini bye. That's nice. But Tom Silverstein reported for Packers News that he's dealing with a torn oblique muscle. That's got to hurt. That is not going to be a fun thing to play with. You would like for him to get fully healthy. The Packers have the Browns this week, the Cowboys next week, and then a bye week. If you can get by without playing Zach Tom until that bye week, you get him back week 6 after that. The Bengals with Jake Browning, we'll get to the Joe Burrow part of this. But it's going to be Anthony Belton in all likelihood this week. Same thing for Aaron Banks. Matt LaFleur said there's a chance that he can come back too. I'm less worried about Aaron Banks because Jordan Morgan can pass protect. I don't have a problem with that. And Anthony Belton, look, he's a big, strong, physical dude. Really, really liked the tape. Myles Garrett is a different animal. Against the Commanders, you can live with Anthony Belton being raw and just being a big physical guy, because they don't have the best edge rushers. And he did not allow a pressure in the game, did have the holding call. This is when having the best depth in terms of offensive line in the league really helps you. We talked about that yesterday. But I made the joke on social media. The job this week, job 1, block Myles Garrett. Job 2, block Myles Garrett. Job 3, block Myles Garrett. The defense is going to take care of itself for the Packers. This Browns offense stinks. It stinks. Like Joe Flacco is going to be in hell. I bet we will see Dylan Gabriel in this game. Hell, we might see Shedeur Sanders in this game. The defense is going to be suffocating. The question is, can you block Myles Garrett? That's it. That is the game. And so, could we see more play action? Could we see you rolling away from Myles Garrett? Could you see you running a little bit more to mitigate, running away from Myles Garrett? Maybe getting to the edge a little bit. Maybe like you leave Myles Garrett unblocked at your own peril, but the Packers can get away with that with some of the ways that they use motion, they use pre-snap, the formation to create edges, to create angles for their run and pass game, frankly. They're going to have to get creative this week. Even if Zach Tom can play, frankly, he will probably be a hindered version of himself. Now, in some ways, this is built in. Because what have the Packers been doing? They've been playing with 2 tight ends on the field. They've been playing with 2 running backs on the field. They've been playing in heavy personnel. And when you do that, you give yourself the option to chip release, to just keep a tight end in, whether it's Fitzgerald, whether it's Musgrave. And when you look at this defense, like Mason Graham, highly touted rookie, has not had the down-to-down impact, you'd really like. Maybe he can get there. I think he can be a good player. I did not, frankly, love the tape in college. Other people did. Okay. But Carson Schlesinger, Devin Bush in the run game, they've been playing really good defense. I wanted to come on here and say, look, just run the ball, get out of here, win some sort of 20-13 kind of game. I mean, look, you probably can do that. But you're making life harder on yourself than you need to. I do think you can throw on this team. And I think if you can block Myles Garrett, you can give yourself time to throw on this team. And that's, again, I don't know how much, it cannot be overemphasized this week that is the deal. Job 1, 2, and 3. Maybe even job 4, 2. So what can you do to mitigate the impact of Myles Garrett? Because the Packers are still going to want to push the ball down the field. That is this offense. They're still trying to create those shot plays. So how do you find those opportunities to still create those shot plays while not, getting your quarterback killed? It's not going to be easy. Myles Garrett is that good a player. There are not very many players where you go, the game plan is stop this guy. And by the way, the Packers are going to have to account for this with Micah Parsons because more and more teams are going to send extra bodies, send extra help. Now, they tried it. The Commanders tried it. They tried to block him with 3, and Parsons still found a way to create pressure. So this is the deal with I would say these 2 guys in particular. Parsons and Garrett are just the kinds of players where it almost doesn't matter what you do. They're going to create problems for you if you don't have the guys. And if the Packers don't have their guys, do they have the guys? They better find out a solution. More getting the ball out quick. Jordan Love has had no problem doing that. Can you create more run after catch opportunities? Does Savion Williams need to be a bigger part of this game plan? Can you get to some of the quick game vertical opportunities? 3-step, some of those Aaron Rodgers transition go balls. We basically haven't seen Jordan Love throw those in his career, really. It's kind of an Aaron Rodgers special. I'm not even sure they have it in the playbook, Matt LaFleur. They let Aaron run it because Aaron is the best to ever do it. Now, you trust Matt LaFleur in these situations to make it work, to get it right. Now, the Packers have this player who wrecks everything in Micah Parsons, which is still surreal for me to say that he's a Green Bay Packer. It's been 2 games now. But there is another player who has been a force multiplier for this defense, and has benefited greatly from Micah Parsons' presence. The Edgerrin Cooper breakout season is here. We'll talk about it next on Locked On Packers. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. All-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV means you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like players, Mazda sweats every detail. Because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why Monarch Money is here. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorizations for your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL. We touted Edgerrin Cooper last year. We were early on the Edgerrin Cooper bandwagon. It wasn't even a bandwagon when we were on it. It was one of those old-timey railroad things that you have to like the seesaw thing on the railroad. What are those called? I don't know. Do you even know what I'm talking about? If you watched like old Warner Brothers cartoons, you know what I'm talking about at the very least. But by the end of the year, you could make the case pretty cleanly. Edgerrin Cooper was the most impactful defender on this Packers defense. One of the most impactful players on the team. And one of the most impactful players on defense in the league. Brandon Snide, our pal over at the Locked On Packers Squad Show, said Edgerrin Cooper this year is going to be the best linebacker in the NFL. I don't know about that. Through 2 weeks, Fred Warner's still pretty dang good. But what you're seeing is the impact of Micah Parsons, the playing with your hair on fire, constant frenetic movement. What I've really come to appreciate just in 2 short games about Micah Parsons is even when he's blocked, he does not accept being blocked. I have never watched a rep of Micah Parsons accept being blocked. He will continue to fight and scratch and claw and hunt and attack and find the ball carrier and chase. He is not one of these guys that if he's opposite the play, he's going to loaf it. No, because he knows he can track you down. He's fast enough to come get you and maybe force a fumble, and who knows? Edgerrin Cooper plays like that too. He is constantly chasing. Next Gen has this stat that I just think is such a cool stat. They call it a hustle stop. So a play where you get a negative outcome for the offense. That's a stop. Pro Football Focus uses yards when they do stops. Next Gen, actually, this is very cool, uses EPA. So what is the actual value of the play, not just, the success rate, basically, of the play in question. So it could be a pass, for example. So hustle stops are stops that you make as a defender where you have to run 20 or more yards to make the play. And there are a couple of these over the last few weeks. Edgerrin Cooper running like the wind, just from the weak side of the play, coming all the way across, sifting through the trash, getting into the backfield and making a play. He leads the league in these hustle stops. Leads the league through 2 games. And in fact, leads the league by a comfortable margin. He also leads the league in regular stops. So plays that create negative EPA for the offense. Leads the league. Has 15 of them through 2 weeks. That is bonkers. That is cuckoo bananas crazy what he's doing down to down, play to play. And this putting of Parsons, Cooper, double A gap, these mugged up looks, who's coming, who's not. You just want to line Cooper up like a linebacker and let him be a run and hit linebacker? He can do that. You want to blitz him? He can do that. And yes, he can play in coverage. The Packers haven't had to do it a lot. They haven't asked him to do it a ton to just be like, handle that responsibility. He still has to drop. They still play zone coverage. But especially on third downs, they're using him as a, situational pass rusher, not like he's lining up on the edge, but they'll put him in these packages, okay? You're going to line up the very first Micah Parsons play. Lucas Van Ness, Micah Parsons, Edge Cooper. And if he doesn't come, he's just, dropping off into a little zone. He's not being asked to man the whole field. That's where I think the gap ultimately between him and someone like Fred Warner is going to come. Can you be impactful enough around the line of scrimmage to make up for the fact that you're not going to be shutting down lanes in the intermediate parts of the field as a cover linebacker? The greats in terms of the off-ball linebackers of the last decade have all been able to do that. Bobby Wagner, the best seasons of Roquan Smith. So can he get there? We'll see. But he may have a third down gift that is even better, that you could put him as part of the pressure look. Whether he gets there or not is not the point, because he can create confusion. He can create, not confusion, but he can create chaos. Because if he's going to blitz, we know he can blitz. We know he can get off blocks. We know he can chase down quarterbacks. He can create consternation offensively. Okay, is he going to come? Is he not going to come? Well, we got to figure it out. We know he's dangerous if he's going to come, if he's going to blitz. Pause. And so what are you going to do about it? You got to have a plan for it. Now, it's not Micah Parsons level plan. It's not Myles Garrett level planning, but you got to know where 56 is on the field, especially on third downs at all times. And you better have it scouted. Are there times when you're more likely to get a simulated pressure? Are there times when you're more likely to get a simulated pressure where he's actually the guy that's coming versus the guy that's going? His impact on the field has not been Micah Parsons. I'm not going to do the bombastic, talking head guy thing and say, hey, actually the best player on this defense is Edgerrin Cooper. No, it's Micah Parsons. But look around the league. Find me a more impactful two-person defensive group in the NFL right now than those two guys. And our pal Jake Morley joked, maybe not even joked, half joked maybe, that Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary are a close second. I accept that. In week one, I think the deal was that when Parsons, Lucas Van Ness, and Rashawn Gary were all on the field together, the Packers had allowed 6 yards to the Detroit Lions. 6. A team that just scored 52 points. 6 yards. Yeah, Micah Parsons is a force multiplier, but there are other players on this team that are really, really good. Not the least of whom is Edgerrin Cooper. And when we talked all offseason about, hey, the talent, let's see who can make a jump, who can make an impact. They're trying to close the gap with star players, the Lions, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Bills. There are some guys on the team we talked about being able to help bridge that gap. Edgerrin Cooper was one of those players. Lucas Van Ness was one of those players. Well, guess what? Lucas Van Ness has made that jump. Edgerrin Cooper has made that jump. And you added Micah Parsons. That's why this defense looks so good. That's why they are so dominant and so suffocating. It's why, look, I think the Browns are going to have a trouble getting to 10 points this weekend. 10 points. they have done everything they needed to do and more, but it's also why the Packers trusted their internal development. It's why they trusted the Van Ness and the Cooper internal development. And they were, I know that people think, oh, the Parsons trade initially was seen as, but they don't think their team is good enough. And I try to say, no. It's the opposite. They think their team is so good. They have so much belief in Edgerrin Cooper and the talent from Lucas Van Ness and these other guys that they're saying, no, we think this team is ready to do it now. You get Micah Parsons, you become the favorite. And you know what? They called me a madman. They called me a madman for saying the Packers were the favorites if they traded for Micah Parsons. The Packers are the favorites. Packers are the favorites. Now, something weird going on with the quarterback situation, the backup quarterback situation right now in Green Bay. And I wonder if it has to do with the Bengals quarterback situation. We'll talk about that next on Locked On Packers. The NFL season is here and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. I'm up my second week in a row. Let's go. Feeling good this year. Feel like I have a good handle on where the league is right now, which means it's going to get crazy pretty soon. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Is something happening with the Green Bay Packers backup quarterback situation? The Packers worked out Dorian Thompson-Robinson yesterday, according to Tom Pelissero. And it just so happens that was the same day that we got some reporting. There was interest in Malik Willis, particularly from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, Kirk Cousins would be the prize out there for teams looking for a quarterback that felt like, hey, we got to try and do this now. Or at the very least, we got to try and tread water. If you're the Bengals, I would have been trying to call about Kirk Cousins. The problem is they don't have the money, and the money is guaranteed. So there's no shenanigans to be done. There's no moving around stuff. No, you just have to get the Falcons to eat the money, which probably means giving up real draft capital to do it in a season where you are probably not going to do anything anyway. Kirk Cousins is not going to take them to the AFC Championship game this year, and even if he does, congratulations, you're going to get, run off the field by the Ravens or the Bills or the Chiefs. But there are going to be teams pretty soon going, man, we kind of like our team, but our quarterback stinks. Or our quarterback is hurt and we really got to win now. We got to figure this out. The Bengals being one of those teams. They could afford last year of his contract, Malik Willis, better than Kirk Cousins. Joe Burrow is out for the next 3 months at least after having turf toe surgery. So the Packers are going to get a backup quarterback week 6. But are they going to get the dual benefit of the backup quarterback and the Bengals trading for Malik Willis? Now, I think Malik Willis is extremely valuable to this team. I would want a day 2 pick, and probably a good one if you're going to make a trade like this, just because his value to this team, we've seen it. And they are in a win now window. They are all in on this. It's not just like, hey, I'm going to sell off pieces. No, you got to get a real piece back. That's why I joked on social media, you trade the Packers T. Higgins for Malik Willis and we can have a conversation. Now, I don't think that would actually be the conversation. But if the Bengals offered a 3rd round pick for Malik Willis, I think you have to think about it. And if they offer a 2nd round pick, you got to say yes. You got to say yes. This guy's going to walk in free agency in all likelihood. Although I would try and find a way to keep him if I could. And if I was Malik Willis, I would say, maybe this is a great situation for me. Now, he could get an opportunity to start somewhere else. He might, like, if he needed to, start tomorrow in Minnesota, frankly. His classic soft bench of J.J. McCarthy. Oh, his ankle hurts. Yeah, we're going to give him a week, reset, and try again later. They're taking the cartridge out of the PlayStation, giving it the old trying to put it back in. But so the question for the Packers is what is that worth for you? Are you getting enough out of a Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Do you like what you see out of Clayton Tune, or is the whole reason you would want to bring in a DTR, who, by the way, our pal Jason Hirschhorn over at The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to, writes about the thresholds and all the things that the Packers like, all the profile and stuff, and DTR would fit that profile. So if you're going to pick a reclamation project type guy for the Packers, DTR would fit that bill. By the way, so does Clayton Tune. DTR has played NFL games, has not looked great in them, but either did Malik Willis. He can do a lot of the stuff that Malik Willis can do. Is that a backup plan here? This is just me doing the Windhorse Fingers thing. Like, why would the Packers do that? Why would they do that? Especially a team with no first round pick. If you could get some additional draft capital, you got to consider it. And I will add, if you have an extended absence with your quarterback, I don't know that it really matters. Like if you have a season-ending injury, like if you have a Carson Wentz, expecting anybody to play the Nick Foles role is folly. Like that happens once a generation. You've got Jeff Hostetler, you've got Nick Foles, and like that's it. It doesn't happen otherwise. So you can't expect that guy to take you to the Super Bowl. So it doesn't really matter. Like hold the fort for a game or two, but I kind of think, I'm not going to say anybody could do it. But could Clayton Tune not just totally destroy you while the defense holds somebody to 10, 13 points? Yeah, he probably could. Now, is he going to beat the Lions? Probably not. But you know what? Guess what? Either is Malik Willis. Probably. I know this team is really good. You need Jordan Love to beat the best teams. You're not going to beat the Ravens. You're not going to beat the Lions with Malik Willis. So worrying too much about, they really, I do think there's a lot of value in having him, especially for like, Love tweaks his groin and then you got to go in like against Jacksonville. They won the game because he was in there. They did win 2 weeks and 2 games. That's usually how it works. Because they had Malik Willis. That's very valuable, especially with this Packers team trying to get the 1 seed, but also they don't care. They've won on the road before. If you're gonna get something here, like you got to listen. I think Packer fans generally have overrated the league-wide value of someone like Malik Willis. I'm just saying, I think his value this year, I would be willing, unless you're getting paid real stuff, to let it ride. And then if he's going to walk in the offseason, let him walk. But the value of having him on the team is real. If all you're getting is a 6th round pick or a 5th round pick, like no, the answer is no. But it is interesting to me. Like they just signed Clayton Tune. They have Malik. Why are they working out quarterbacks? Exactly. Unless they're at least gauging the market. There are maybe teams calling, hey, what can we do here? The Bengals don't make trades, but like Duke Tobin might be feeling like he's on the hot seat a little bit. Zach Taylor might be going, hey, we got to show faith here. We'll see if they can actually do that. All right, we get you ready for Packers Browns the rest of this week. And then, look, we got more fun games coming. So we appreciate you being here through Browns week. The Packers block Myles Garrett and you'll win. And don't turn the ball over 5 times. This should be a game that you can get, Malik Willis in the 4th quarter because you're up 35-13. That'd be maybe a little showcase game. What do you know? What do you think? Follow me on the social medias, Peter_Bukowski on X, on Instagram. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Subscribe on YouTube. Our squad show tomorrow night, 7:15 Lambeau time. Jeff Jagosinski, former Packers coach, Brandon Snide, our host, and me. We will be there for an hour. Locked On Packers YouTube page. Subscribe on the YouTube page. We'll be live after the Browns game so you can stay locked on Packers.